We start in 1800, midway through the Industrial Revolution. A spark ignited in the United Kingdom that would gradually spread unprecedented prosperity throughout the world. At this time, unprecedented wealth means that the average person in the UK produced less than $6 of economic activity a day. However, this makes them 3 times wealthier than the average Polish resident, who produced less than $2 a day. In 1815, the Napoleonic Wars come to an end. Mainland Europe starts to rebuild and take part in the Industrial Revolution. In 1833, slavery is finally abolished in the United Kingdom. In 1845, Ireland was hit by the potato famine. Over 1 million Irishmen emigrate to the US, UK and Australia. During this time, over 3 million people would immigrate from Europe to these 3 countries. In 1850, gold is discovered in Australia, sparking a gold rush. The gold rush will eventually fuel a speculative boom in the property market. Europeans begin settling in New Zealand. They have a relatively small population, but they quickly begin exporting gold to the rest of the world. At this point, the citizens in the top 3 countries produce just over $10 a day, while working an average of 60 hours a week, which is considered luxurious because in Belgium, the average employee works over 70 hours a week to produce 23% less in economic activity. In 1890, Australia's property boom collapses. Australia's federal bank falls and sets off a series of bank failures throughout the continent. From 1900 to 1930, the US sees widespread adoption of electricity. In 1913, the United States establishes the Federal Reserve. And in 1914, the world descends into the First World War. Cheap credit from central banks fueled the economic boom known as the Roaring Twenties. Cheap credit eventually collapses the economy, and in 1929, the world enters the Great Depression. In 1933, FDR signs the New Deal, and in 1935, the world falls into World War for the second time. The US exits the war with incredible and sustained economic growth. The preceding years are marked by massive leaps in technology, productivity and culture. It will come to be known as the Golden Age of capitalism. In 1960, several of the top oil-producing nations come together to form OPEC. Starting in 1973, politics within OPEC force oil prices to rise from $3 to $28 a barrel by the end of the decade. Western countries fall into a recession and start demanding less oil, which leads to a massive oversupply. In 1980, oil prices begin to crash. However, the UAE successfully diversifies their economy. They are no longer entirely reliant on the price of oil. 9/11/2001, terrorists strike the World Trade Center. 2 years later, the US invades Iraq, making oil prices spike once again. This lasts until the housing market crashes, sparking the global financial crisis, and oil prices begin to fall. This brings us to current times. Global GDP per capita is now $17,300. According to the World Bank, 101 out of 183 countries are now considered high or upper middle income. But 50 are still poorer than the US was at the beginning of this video in 1800. If you have any questions about economic history or ideas for future videos, let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, then feel free to subscribe and press the notifications button below. And if you would like to learn more about economic history, then I recommend starting off with The Ascent of Money by Neil Ferguson. You can find it on Amazon by using the link in the description box.